I am a man of great virtue. Therefore, when Song Linen informed me that his lifelong love was my elder half-sister, I promptly sent him to meet his end. Now that my elder sister is dead, if you are so deeply devoted, go and die for her. No need to thank me, I most enjoy facilitating such matters. The moment I opened my eyes, I was back on the day of our betrothal. Song Linen glared at me, publicly humiliating me on the spot. The Song family only marries truly virtuous women. We'll never let a wicked woman into our home. He annulled the engagement, turning me into the laughingstock of the entire city. And thus, the title of wicked woman was bestowed upon me. Song Linen schemed to marry my half-sister. I, however, remained unwanted. On my return visit to my parents' home, Song Linen sneered, "Your true colors are known to all now. I wonder who else you can corrupt." I merely smiled without reply. This fool, in my past life, I lived to 80, while he kicked the bucket at 20. I know far too much he doesn't. I was far too kind-hearted. So when I realized my husband's family had chosen the wrong side, I cut ties with them without hesitation. All to save the entire Song clan. I knelt before the new emperor and presented all the evidence of their crimes. The new emperor granted a general pardon, sparing the Song family except for Song Linen, who alone must face death. When I brought the crane's red to see Song Linen, he sat there, his spirit broken. He stopped pretending, pulled out his half-sister's portrait, and wept until his eyes were swollen red. He murmured, "Our paths were never meant to cross in this life. We shall meet again only in the next." His half-sister died yesterday. She perished in childbirth. Song Linen had suppressed this affection for so long. Even I felt pity watching him. TSK. I'm just too soft-hearted. Therefore, I couldn't bring myself to tell Song Linen, his aunt, the Empress, had passed, his cousin, the Crown Prince, was gone, his father-in-law had been assassinated, and his mother-in-law, overcome by grief, had also died. The one who ascended the throne was the second prince. Outside the door, palace servants still waited for news. I could only bring the red-tipped crane's red to Song Linen's lips. "Your elder sister is dead. Since you're so deeply in love, go and die for her. No need to thank me, I love making things happen." I never told him about those troublesome matters. His eyes widened, refusing to close in death. Even as he swallowed crane's red, he tried to struggle. But, better a quick death than a long agony. I was merely helping him end his suffering. Poisonous woman. With those final words, Song Linen breathed his last. I couldn't help but feel sorrow. Everything I did was for the Song family. And for him. Yet he turned around and called me a poisonous woman. Fortunately, after Song Linen's death, the new emperor did not punish the Song family. Months later, the concubine gave birth to a son. I became a mother without pain. Under my guidance, the illegitimate son was formally adopted under my name. He passed the imperial examinations smoothly, entered officialdom, and was raised exceptionally well by me. The Song family, under my stewardship, regained its former glory. I lived to 80, keeping a few male companions along the way, and my days were fairly smooth. Before I died, I was surrounded by dozens of children and grandchildren, all weeping bitterly around me. Perhaps my kindness moved the heavens, granting me a peaceful end to this life. When I opened my eyes again, I met the furious gaze of Song Linen. He was visibly agitated. "My Song family will never allow a wicked woman through our doors. I will only marry a truly virtuous woman." With that, Song Linen turned to his elder half-sister. Surveying my surroundings, I realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the very day of our betrothal. I must break this childish promise. Originally, Today was to be the day both families formally sealed the marriage contract. In my previous life, though Song Linen harbored affection for my half-sister, he suppressed those feelings out of deference to my status as the legitimate daughter. Now it seemed he too had been reborn. As a virtuous person, I had no reason to cling desperately. Only by letting go could I grant him peace. Very well. Since young Master Song is resolute in breaking off the engagement, I shall not insist. May he soon find a worthy partner and be blessed with numerous descendants. My heartfelt blessings. Song Linen, however, lost his composure on the spot. Shut your mouth, you venomous woman. Don't think you can still bewitch me. I was utterly dumbfounded. Thus, further words were futile. I covered my mouth with a handkerchief to hide my expression. In this lifetime, without me denouncing the Song family, sacrificing kin for justice, how could the new emperor ever pardon them? It wasn't that I didn't wish to save the Song family, it was that Song Linen left me no opportunity. The Song family naturally didn't believe Song Linen's one-sided accusations that I was a poisonous woman. Instead, they compensated me with 2 family shops. To ease the Song family's concerns, I had no choice but to accept this compensation. I always genuinely consider others' feelings. For now, it's unwise for Song Linen to directly propose marriage to his half-sister. To avoid public censure. He wasn't quite beyond redemption. But the man is truly ungentlemanly. After leaving the Wei residence, he spread slanderous rumors to tarnish my reputation. He was determined to brand me a wicked woman. My grandmother and father, heartbroken for me, gifted me another estate. My aunt learned of my half-sister's affair with Song Linen. Overwhelmed with guilt toward me, she spent several nights sewing new garments for spring, summer, autumn, and winter. I earnestly advised my stepmother, Song Linen is fickle and not a suitable match. You must persuade my elder half-sister. The main point is, the Song family will be uprooted sooner or later. Why should my beautiful elder half-sister go to her death? My aunt wept with emotion, yet a shadow flickered in her eyes. She almost gritted her teeth as she said, "It's hard to see you so devoted to worrying about your elder sister." I nodded. It's only right. I cannot bear to see others walk to their deaths. But no sooner had I persuaded my aunt than she arranged for my elder sister to meet secretly with Song Linen. My heart ached with grief and fury. In my rage, I devoured a whole braised duck from Spring Sparrow Pavilion and declared to Xiao Tao, "I've done all I can." My half-sister refused to heed my warnings. If she dies, she has no one but herself to blame. Xiao Tao agreed wholeheartedly. How could a lady as kind and beautiful as you be at fault? It's all their mistake. Xiao Tao's words struck a chord. Since I am kind-hearted, I have no reason not to bring this ill-fated couple together. Thus, when Song Linen arranged another secret meeting with my half-sister, I had the noble lady from the capital summoned in advance. Under the guise of watching a play, I ensured everyone witnessed Song Linen and my half-sister's affair. Now, the Wei and Song families would discuss marriage once more. Song Linen could finally marry his beloved. His half-sister could at last marry well. All were delighted. A living bodhisattva like me is rare in this world. I was nearly moved to tears by my own actions. Standing outside the side room door, I dabbed at non-existent tears with my handkerchief, then flashed Song Linen and his half-sister a dazzling smile. Being moved to tears by my own actions was one thing, but I genuinely wished them happiness. Yet my half-sister glared at me with a venomous, cursed look. Song Linen pointed an accusing finger at me, shouting, "You poisonous woman!" I was utterly bewildered. He slandered me. My kindness was taken for granted. My heart broken by both of them. I threw myself into the arms of a noble lady and wailed uncontrollably. Some gossip monger spread rumors, insisting I'd been deceived by Song Linen and his half-sister. The rumor spread like wildfire. Within 3 days, The entire capital knew Song Linen had broken off our engagement because he and his half-sister were secretly involved. They became public enemies, despised by all. I couldn't just sit back and wait for disaster. So, weeping, I pleaded for mercy, speaking up for Song Linen and his half-sister everywhere. It has nothing to do with the half-sister or young master Song. If you must blame someone, blame me alone. It's all my fault. What wrong could truly be in two people loving each other sincerely? Somehow, the label of wicked woman was stripped from me. Among the capital's powerful and privileged, many young nobles began courting me. They praised my beauty and my kind heart. My reputation improved like never before. Sigh. I never imagined things would turn out this way. Could this be karma rewarding kindness? Song Linen is the Empress's own nephew, the Crown Prince's cousin, and the eldest legitimate son of the Song family. He declared he would make my half-sister his legitimate wife. This shows how deeply he cherishes her. No wonder she's been weeping constantly since that day. She must be deeply moved. Even if grandmother enforces the family law and refuses to provide a dowry, my half-sister must still marry him. Under these circumstances, it becomes even harder for me to warn her about the misfortune that will befall the Song family. Doing so would make me seem like someone trying to break up a loving couple. Besides, what does losing one's life matter? All Song Linen and my half-sister cared about was the true love between them. True love reigns supreme. Long live true love. One day, I discovered my stepmother had embezzled funds from the kitchen. I summoned her. To my surprise, she confessed and grew defiant. She no longer meekly obeyed or feigned kindness. These people, they're all fake kindness. Unlike me, I'm genuinely kind. The concubine stood with her chest puffed out, her almond eyes looking down on me. My daughter is about to marry into the Song family. The Duke's household. The Wei family refused to provide a dowry, so I had to scrape together what I could. Don't push your luck. In the future, my daughter and son-in-law won't let you off the hook. I sighed. The concubine was my mother's dowry maid. Yet she had already climbed into my father's bed before my mother even conceived me. She wasn't kind at all. I shook my head helplessly, angered by her stubborn refusal to change. I lectured her earnestly. Concubine, in life, excessive arrogance will only destroy you. How could I stand by and watch you willingly ruin yourself? Her body swayed, and her speech became slurred. See? I simply cannot keep giving her a favorable reception. Otherwise, she'll never grasp her true place in this household. I waved my hand lightly. Her disrespect toward the legitimate daughter shows no regard for the distinction between legitimate and concubine-born. Now, the Wei household is under my stewardship. Her insolence toward the head of the household betrays her ignorance of propriety. Attendants, strike her face. The concubine was restrained as the matron stepped forward to begin the beating. Standing before her, I stretched lazily. Concubine, no need to thank me. Rest assured, I'll train you properly. I'll handle everything, no mishaps will occur. Beaten into a pig's head, the concubine never glared at me again, nor raised her voice. That's more like it. Every thorn on her body, I stripped bare. Legitimate is legitimate. Concubine-born is concubine-born, let no one overstep their bounds. Before the wedding, my concubine sister suddenly began retching uncontrollably. My heart leapt into my throat. In my past life, she had died in childbirth. Over the past decade, my aunt had practically starved her into a Yangzhou courtesan's frame, leaving her body dangerously thin. Men certainly favored delicate beauties like my half-sister. But such delicate beauties easily risk losing both mother and child. 3 of the Wei family's nieces remained unmarried. My half-sister had already brought shame upon the Wei daughters. I feared her unwed pregnancy would cost her life. Yet I also worried for my niece's prospects. After much deliberation, the only solution was to terminate my half-sister's pregnancy. I went to see my half-sister myself. She held a hairpin in her hand, clearly aware of her pregnancy, one hand pressing the pin against her throat, the other cradling her belly. Tears streaked her face. "If you dare harm my child, I'll die right here. TSK. Are you willing to throw your life away? But I'm doing this for you." I spoke earnestly. "Sister, bearing children before 20 is harmful to a woman's health. And you're so delicate. What if you suffer complications during childbirth? Though you stole my marriage, I don't want you to die." After speaking, I added sincerely, "Sister, I truly have your best interests at heart. If trouble comes to the Song family, I can report it first and use my merits to save your life. But if you die in childbirth, I'll be powerless." Her pale face twisted with resentment. "You just hate me. It must be so. You hurt mother and now you're coming after me. Why? We're both father's daughters. Why must you oppress me at every turn?" I was rendered speechless. I couldn't utter a single word about my half-sister dying in childbirth. I tried my best. Sigh. My heart is weary. Any relationship, once all passion is exhausted, will inevitably retreat. I poured the abortion potion into the potted plant and sighed. "Sister, take good care of yourself. No matter what. You're still my elder sister. In the future, I'll collect her remains. As for my 3 cousins, they used to mock me for being an unmarriageable shrew. Now they'll likely remain unmarried too. After all, the reputation of the Wei family's daughters has been ruined by my half-sister. As the eldest legitimate daughter, I tried to save them, but no one appreciated it. Kind-hearted people are always let down. Never mind. Never mind." Upon learning his half-sister was pregnant, Song Linen hastened the wedding. To preserve her dignity, he personally funded her dowry. Yet the dowry scale remained limited. Few guests attended the wedding feast. Many nobles collectively feigned illness, sending only servants with congratulatory gifts. The Song family felt utterly humiliated. Upon the wedding procession's return, they reported that the half-sister faced harsh treatment from the matrons the moment she entered her new home. Pregnant as she was forced to leap over 3 fire pits, nearly scorching her skirt. I couldn't help but worry for her plight. My mother-in-law from my past life was no pushover. Only a woman like me could keep her in check. My half-sister has truly jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. True love. What a cruel deceiver. After the grand wedding, Song Linen finally achieved his heart's desire. He also made amends for the regrets of his past life. I was genuinely happy for him. After all, his days of good fortune were numbered. I am a broad-minded person, naturally not one to hold grudges, especially not against someone destined to die within a few years. Yet, on the day he brought my half-sister back for the post-wedding visit, he turned a cold shoulder to me. His face radiated joy, yet his eyes seemed to carry the desolation and loneliness of the northern wilderness. I smiled brightly. "Brother-in-law, haven't you been sleeping well these past few days?" Song Linen snapped like a tail had been stepped on. "Wei Yan. Others may not know your true colors, but I see them clearly. Stop pretending to be virtuous in front of me." Only then did it dawn on me, Song Linen had been impeached by the censor, dragging the crown prince into the scandal with him. He hadn't been having a good time lately. I stammered awkwardly. "Brother-in-law, eat when you should eat. Drink when you should drink. There's no tomorrow." Song Linen's eyes widened. His nostrils flared. He stormed off, flinging his sleeves behind him, not forgetting to hurl one last curse. "Poisonous woman. Heaven knows what exactly made me poisonous. Even Doi wasn't as wronged as I am." Song Linen began his frenzied revenge. Unable to harm me directly, He spread slanderous rumors to tarnish my reputation. But it didn't matter. I've always been magnanimous. More pressing matters demanded my attention. Though the second prince emerged victorious in the final succession struggle, his path was fraught with hardship. Recently, the frontier faced urgent threats. The second prince led 50,000 troops to defend the border. Holding firm to this day, the empress and crown prince, wary of the second prince, schemed in secret to cut off his timely supply of provisions. At this very moment, the second prince finds himself in dire straits. Coincidentally, though I lack grand ambitions, I'm quite adept at business. While I cannot directly access the Wei family's funds, I can support the second prince using my own private reserves. In short, I'll do him a favor now, so I can collect the debt later. Before leaving the capital, I went to my grandmother and father to weep and lament. First, my marriage was stolen from me, then my reputation was ruined. Now I only wish to retreat to the estate for peace and quiet. I beg your permission, grandmother and father. I wept bitterly. Grandmother and father were moved. Father then took his anger out on the concubine, beating her again. Look at the fine daughter you've raised. She seduced her own sister's fiancé. Now she's married well. But how are the other Wei family daughters supposed to live with this? The concubine was beaten into silence. With sufficient justification, I smoothly departed the capital. 3 days later, managers from various shops came to see me, their demeanor quite respectful. After all, I'd been generous with my favors. Master, all supplies are ready. Medicinal herbs, rice, oil, dried meat, cotton garments. Everything you requested is prepared. I felt no urgency to rush to the frontier. For when heaven bestows a great mission upon a man, it first hardships his spirit and labors his body. If the second prince is truly heaven's chosen one, he ought to endure some hardship. My deliberate delay serves to test his resolve. Thus, when the second prince was driven to the brink of death, on the verge of meeting his end, I descended from the heavens as if riding a rainbow cloud. I crouched down, cradled his head, and smiled gently. Your Highness, this is Wei Yan, here to rescue you. My escort guards, first-rate warriors, safely escorted the second prince back to our camp, preserving his eyebrows. In my past life, enemy blades had slashed his left eyebrow, nearly blinding him. With or without me, the second prince would have escaped his predicament. But with me, he gained a touch of warmth. Wei Yan. Even in his unconscious state, he murmured my name. Truly the ultimate victor, like me. The second prince possesses a kind heart and knows gratitude. When he awoke, I had just brought him chicken congee. His piercing, dark eyes softened with tenderness. In moments of greatest peril, one's vulnerability often surfaces. My heart ached for him, so I personally fed him the porridge. Your Highness, my merchant caravan happened to pass through a nearby town. Hearing of your desperate struggle against the enemy forces, I came to lend my aid. You must recover fully, Your Highness, before crushing the enemy once and for all. At this point, I furrowed my brow in thought before adding, there is something I wish to say, Your Highness. I'm unsure if it's appropriate. The second prince's reputation isn't exactly stellar. Rumors paint him as violent, murderous, and unpredictable. Yet now, his eyes brimmed with tenderness, a trace of rice porridge still clinging to his lips. Miss Wei, if you have something to say, speak plainly. I lied, claiming I'd overheard a conversation between Song Linen and the crown prince. I revealed how the court was withholding grain supplies. I'm no tattletale. I did it purely to prevent the Song family from making another grave mistake. Besides, as the victim, the second prince has a right to know. A flash of murderous intent flickered in the second prince's eyes. The next moment, I grasped his hand. But your highness, rest assured, this humble maiden can provide supplies to help you win this battle. With that, I personally wiped the rice porridge from the second prince's lips. A faint flush finally returned to his pallid face. I did not linger long in the military camp. After the second prince settled in, I took my leave. Waving goodbye, I left behind a large stockpile of supplies and departed with my attendants. As the carriage rolled far away, I lifted the curtain and caught sight of the second prince still standing in the distance, watching us depart. In my past life, I possessed wealth rivaling a nation. The reason the emperor always showed me considerable leniency was that I offered half my annual profits to the imperial treasury. Thinking of this, I realized that in both lives, I had been the second prince's benefactor. The border affairs were resolved. Next, I ordered my attendants to head for a nearby town. Indeed, this journey wasn't solely for the second prince. I found a coffin shop and waited quietly. Come dusk, a gaunt youth was beaten out. The shopkeeper kicked and punched him, shouting, "You good-for-nothing brat! If not for your mother, I'd have beaten you to death long ago. How dare you pocket the difference? I'm your stepfather, your master." Cornered against the wall, the youth cowered in a ball, his body bruised and battered. Xiao looked puzzled. "Miss, we've been lurking here all day just for him?" I held my hot water bottle close, smiling silently. Yes, it was for him. Xiaozhuo was my fiercest rival in my past life. He was even better at making money than I was. Too bad his ambition ran too high. After rising to power, he didn't know when to hold back. He caught the emperor's suspicion and ended up losing his head. He was a great talent, and I valued talent. The guards brought him before me. The boy's dark eyes stared fixedly at the pastries in front of me. Before feeding him, I painted him a grand vision. "Xiao Zhua, stepson of the coffin shop proprietor. Your mother already has a young son, she won't care about your survival. But you have a knack for business. You can easily support yourself. You shouldn't stay at the coffin shop, nor should you remain in this harsh, cold land. You should go to broader horizons and become the person you wish to be. Xiao Zhua, follow me from now on, and I'll make you rise to great heights. The condition is this: you must be loyal to me. I will monopolize the Daong trade route." Xiao Zhua was never meant to be my fierce rival in this life. He can only be my formidable general under my command. Wealth as vast as the heavens is also a calamity. I made him my subordinate partly to protect him. Let me alone bear the dangers of being the wealthiest man. Well, I truly am a living bodhisattva. This year, Xiao Zhua possessed neither vast wealth nor extraordinary abilities. Starving and freezing, he had no choice but to sign a contract selling himself into servitude, becoming utterly my loyal dog. On the journey back to the capital with Xiao Zhua, I had men dig deep into the earth, searching through the beggars' slums outside the capital city. There, they found a girl named Wenruyu. Xiao Zhua had been by my side for nearly a month. The youth was remarkably astute, his attire and speech markedly different. Seeing how much I cared for Wenruyu, he even grew jealous. "Master, why do you care so much for that girl? What else could it be?" Wenruyu, the long-lost true daughter of the prime minister's household. She would one day become the most favored consort in the imperial harem. The son she bore would ascend as the next crown prince. Naturally, I had to rescue her beforehand. I smiled, gently stroking the youth's hair bun. My kindness couldn't bear to see others suffer. When Ryu has been found, I even sent silver to the beggar's settlement myself. When Ryu smiled, her eyes sparkling brightly, a smile that melted hearts. No wonder she'll become the favored consort. I treated her gently, letting her call me sister. "Good girl. You've suffered enough. From now on, your sister will protect you." The concubine in the prime minister's mansion had swapped the swaddled babies, casting this true heiress out to the beggar's den beyond the city walls. It was utterly heartless. I simply couldn't stand such cruelty. After changing into fresh clothes and being properly groomed, when Ryu did possess a certain air of a noble lady, Xiao's behavior grew peculiar. If she could call me sister, why must I address him only as master? Huh? This fellow dares to push his luck. In my past life, he was my fierce rival. This lifetime, I shall certainly keep him in my shadow. Should he ever rise to power, his ultimate fate can be summed up in one word: death. I was saving him. I slapped Xiaozhua across the face. What? Is it too much to ask you to call me master? Xiaozhua's face was twisted from the blow, yet the youth showed no anger. Instead, he flicked his tongue against his palate and smiled, his eyebrows arching slightly. Master struck well. I overstepped. What a thorn in the side. Only a great benefactor like me would take him in. Upon returning to the capital, my confidant swiftly reported the news. Only then did I learn that Song Linen had leveraged his past life memories to earn several military merits. At last, he could hold his head high once more. Additionally, Lady Song had taken a concubine to suppress her elder half-sister. That concubine was the woman who bore my son in my previous life. In that lifetime, I lived to 80, and she served me faithfully until that age. This time, without my protection, how would she fare in the Song household? Even if that child were born, its fate would be grim. I must prevent this tragedy. Therefore, I ordered men to hijack the concubine's wedding palanquin. This concubine, the Tofu Beauty, was chosen by Lady Song precisely because of her striking beauty and curvaceous figure. The Tofu Beauty had a beloved, a young carpenter. In my previous life, the young carpenter never married, growing into an old carpenter who worked at the Song residence his entire life, guarding the Tofu Beauty forever. What a love that moved heaven and earth. I must bring them together. When the Tofu Beauty and the carpenter met again, they embraced and wept bitterly. I urged them. The hour is late. Board the boat southward quickly. If you delay, the Song family will recapture you. This silver will suffice for you both to settle in Jiangnan. The Tofu Beauty's family sold her for glory. She could never return to her birth home. Both of them knelt before me, filled with gratitude. Benefactor, they said, if there is a next life, we will serve you faithfully. That won't be necessary. I do good deeds without expecting anything in return. Watching the Tofu Beauty and the little carpenter board the boat and depart, I finally felt at ease. I turned to Xiaozhua and Wenryu beside me and said, "Did you see that? One must do good deeds while living in this world. Only the kind-hearted receive good fortune." Both nodded obediently. Sister, I understand. Master, I get it too. Very good. We've accumulated more merit today. Half a month later, I went to the eastern part of the city. In an alley, I witnessed someone forcing the illegitimate son of the general's household to endure humiliation beneath his crotch. A bastard son. Yet you dare claim lineage to the general's house? Ha! Crawl beneath this young master's crotch, and I'll spare you. The youth was none other than the war god of my past life, Luo Zhan, destined to become the new emperor's right-hand man. I did not intervene immediately. Only when Luo Zhan was about to crawl beneath the legs did I speak up to stop him. I wanted him to remember the shame of this moment. Otherwise, how could he truly grow? Stop! I waved my hand, signaling the guards to step forward and pull Luo Zhan out as he was halfway through crawling. Several spoiled brats tried to stir trouble again. I ordered outright, beat them to death. Beat them until they can't get back up. Only a proper lesson would teach them a lasting lesson. Luo Zhan was brought before me. I wiped his face with a handkerchief. Luo Zhan. Is it? The general's residence has no place for you. You shall serve by my side. The youth swallowed hard, his eyes brimming with tears. What a good boy. One day, he'll command vast armies. With his protection, my commercial empire will expand without limits. I could almost see mountains of gold and silver smiling at me. When Song Linen's concubine eloped, my half-sister thought she'd gained the upper hand. Little did she know, it was all thanks to me. That day, when my half-sister returned to her parents' home, she and her stepmother mocked me together. I kept silent, giving them ample opportunity to berate me. After all, such chances were rare. Though the second daughter was legitimate, her tarnished reputation made her difficult to marry off. I heard the second sister brought home 3 beggars. Since when did the second sister take to scavenging? I watched my aunt and half-sister quietly. How utterly arrogant. How could anyone be so vile? When the chancellor's wife arrived, my stepmother and half-sister were still chattering incessantly. The chancellor's wife rushed over, glanced at Wenryu behind me, then stepped forward and slapped my stepmother. My own flesh and blood daughter, how dare you call her a beggar? Wenryu and the chancellor's wife were cut from the same cloth. The chancellor's wife swept Wenryu into her arms. Today, I had sent a secret letter to the chancellor's wife ahead of time. Everything was laid out clearly within its pages. At that moment, my aunt and half-sister froze in shock. After weeping, the chancellor's wife unleashed a torrent of curses upon the concubines of the chancellor's household. That vile Zhou concubine dared to swap my daughter for hers. I shall have her sold into slavery, condemned to a life neither living nor dead. Seeing my own concubine trembling, I kindly asked, Auntie, what are you afraid of? You never switched the swallowed babies. Her body swayed, and she stared at me as if I were a monster. After this incident, I became the benefactor of the chancellor's household. The chancellor's wife even adopted me as her foster daughter. Though when Ryu returned to the chancellor's residence, she still visited me often, addressing me as sister with every word. I was utterly content. After all, she would become the most revered Empress Dowager decades later. In the days that followed, I continued secretly supplying provisions to the second prince. The second prince wrote back, his letters brimming with gratitude. I simply replied that he needn't thank me. Only by refusing any reward would he give more. Of course, the main reason I sought no repayment was my own kindness. Otherwise, within half a year, I opened a medical clinic, a martial arts academy, an inn. I recruited talented individuals, expanding my business empire further. Gradually, people forgot I was the woman whose betrothal to Song Linen had been annulled. The day of my half-sister's delivery arrived. Her pelvis was narrow, making childbirth difficult. I arrived with a physician, only to be shut out. Song Linen himself blocked my way. Now at the height of his glory, he stood on the stone steps, looking down his nose at me. I reminded him, brother-in-law, I can see your nose hairs. How could a gentleman of such refined grace neglect his demeanor? Especially one favored by the emperor. Song Linen stomped his foot, cursing me. You venomous woman! What mischief are you plotting now? The crowd of passers-by gradually thickened. My heart is pure and sincere. My elder sister is in labor today, and I've specially brought a physician to help her deliver her son safely. Why are you blocking me, brother-in-law? Upon hearing this, Song Linen looked as if he'd heard the most absurd joke in the world. Childbirth? How could a man possibly examine a woman in labor? You're utterly ridiculous. Soon, a servant came to announce, Your Highness. Bad news. The young mistress is hemorrhaging. I knew this would happen. I insisted on entering, but Song Linen still blocked me. Childbirth is painful for every woman. She'll be fine soon. Don't make such a fuss. I was stunned. I was bewildered. I was frantic. My half-sister was the one he'd longed for in his past life. How could he let her die? The crowd of onlookers grew larger. Soon, an old woman stumbled in, gasping, "Young master! It's terrible! The young mistress. She's gone. The child is lost too." I wept bitterly, pointing at Song Linen and cursing, "My poor elder sister. You died so tragically. It was my brother-in-law who wouldn't let me save you." Brother-in-law. You are the truly vicious one. The crowd was filled with indignation. Someone threw rotten vegetable leaves at Song Linen. He stood frozen like a great, dumb goose, muttering, "How could this happen? This shouldn't be happening." Song Linen stumbled back to the mansion. I wailed all the way. That day, the entire city knew Song Linen had killed the Wei family's daughter. Upon hearing the news, my stepmother fainted. When she awoke, she had become a simpleton, clutching a pillow and calling out, "My darling, little darling, you must strive to marry well. A woman must strive to climb high. I could only be a concubine, but my little darling must become the legitimate wife of a noble house." I glanced at my aunt, waved my hand, and had her locked away. It was all my aunt's fault. When my mother was giving birth, she ran to the delivery room and blabbed, causing the deaths of my mother and younger brother. She also corrupted my elder half-sister. Even though I exerted every ounce of strength, I couldn't save my half-sister. But, looking on the bright side, her early death spared her from witnessing the Song family's annihilation. In a twisted way, that too was a form of fortune. The second prince has returned triumphant to the capital, a full year earlier than in my previous life. He is about to formally commence his struggle for the throne. We met privately. His deep, dark eyes seemed to glow. I handed him the brocade box filled with silver notes directly. "Your Highness, I know you need funds now. I wish to offer my modest contribution." Perhaps I was too generous. The second prince misunderstood, seizing my hand with sudden passion. His expression was agitated, his emotions surging. "Since mother's death, no one has treated me so kindly. Wei Yan. Ah Yan. I swear I will never betray you in this lifetime. And those who ever wronged you, I will not spare a single one." Stunned, I yanked my hand back. When Ryu was the second prince's true love, I wanted to be his sister-in-law. Yet he had designs on me? In the future, this man would have harems and concubines. The imperial harem truly isn't suited for a kind-hearted woman like me. I politely declined the second prince's offer. "Your Highness misunderstands, I merely couldn't bear to see you overlooked. And I admire your character. I've never harbored any other intentions toward you. Besides, my reputation isn't good. Your Highness should avoid any appearance of impropriety." The second prince grasped my hand once more. His piercing, dark eyes now brimmed with tenderness. "Ian, I understand. You've devoted yourself entirely to me. How could I ever betray you? Wait for me. Soon, I'll ensure no one dares utter a word against you." Huh? He truly misunderstood. The second prince took the banknote and left me the jade pendant he always carried. He strove relentlessly, fighting back fiercely. Within mere months, he had the crown prince's faction reeling. Everything destined to unfold in my past life had accelerated. Half a year later, the empress and crown prince collapsed. The Song family, the duke's household, naturally faced utter ruin. The second prince believed I despised Song Linen. He beat him half to death and invited me to witness it. "Ian, this man is unworthy. He made you pour your heart into a mistake. He mistook a fish's eye for a pearl. He deserved this fate." When I saw Song Linen, he was barely recognizable. I stepped closer. Having been husband and wife in my past life, I wanted to offer him end-of-life care. Song Linen struggled to open his eyes. A flicker of clarity suddenly pierced his clouded gaze. His voice was barely a whisper. You've come back too? I shrugged. I told you before, I'm beautiful and kind-hearted, incapable of harm. Yet you refused to listen, lowering my voice to a whisper audible only to us. I said, in our past life, you sacrificed yourself to save the entire Song family. You died for a noble cause, even sharing your elder sister's fate in death. What a splendid thing. Ah. But now? The Song family couldn't save their own. Look at the mess this has made. TSK. Song Linen spat out a mouthful of blood. Luckily, I dodged in time. The entire Song family was executed. Not a single one was spared. Without me, it just wouldn't work. The new emperor ascended the throne. As the true daughter of the prime minister's household, when Ryu was the most qualified candidate to be crowned empress. The prime minister's family had meritorious service in supporting the emperor's rise. The prime minister also wished to send his daughter to the palace. But, because everything happening in this life occurred 3 years earlier than in the previous one, when Ryu was only 13 this year, not yet of age, the new emperor clearly had no interest in her either. An ominous foreboding gripped my heart. Sure enough, the new emperor summoned me to the palace. Seeking my counsel, he met me alone in the imperial garden. At 25, his harem remained empty. Ministers urged him to expand his concubines during their audience. In my past life, he was a rather capable emperor. Though his harem was large, it never caused significant turmoil. He had over 10 imperial sons and several princesses, making him a rather prolific ruler. Before the new emperor could speak, I smiled first. Your Majesty, the flowers in this imperial garden are truly beautiful. It's a pity they're all meticulously pruned, lacking natural charm. This humble maiden prefers wildflowers growing freely. The new emperor frowned. He rubbed the signet ring on his thumb, his meaning clear. I am now emperor, ruler of the realm. I only wish to fulfill my own desires. I hastened to agree. But forced fruit is never sweet, its bitterness only makes life more bitter. Would it not be better for each to find their own joy? I, too, am helpless, though I covet wealth and beauty. Entering the palace would surely make the other consorts live in constant fear. With my beauty and kindness, others would only feel ashamed of their own shortcomings. I have no desire to turn the harem into a bloodbath. The new emperor, unwilling to concede, tried to say more. I seized his hand, my gaze intense. Your Majesty, the passion between man and woman will eventually fade, but the bond between kindred spirits never wanes. This humble maiden regards your Majesty as my lifelong confidant and will devote every ounce of my strength to your grand ambitions. I produced a map and presented my commercial expansion plans to the Emperor. Your Majesty, observe, wherever my caravans travel, the banners of Daong shall fly. With me at the helm, the imperial treasury shall never run dry, and the frontier garrisons shall never lack silver. The Emperor and I are kindred spirits. I shall remain unseen, the woman behind His Majesty, his steadfast pillar of support. Kindred spirits cannot share the same bed. Besides, so many young lords await my rescue outside, how could I ever confine myself to the harem? A woman of my stature should be the pillar upon which countless young lords rely. The Emperor's eyes glistened with tears. I suspect he was moved by my words. The new Emperor released me from the palace. The Wei family, with its strong matriarchal influence, shifted toward commerce after my father retired. Within 3 years, I became the head of the Wei family and the foremost imperial merchant. At 16, when Ryu still entered the palace, unlike my past life, the Emperor did not expand his harem. Aside from Empress Wen, there were only 4 consorts. When Ryu also avoided fierce palace intrigues, ascending directly to Empress. Yet on the day of the imperial wedding, I was summoned to the palace. The Emperor and Empress beamed at me, making me feel utterly uncomfortable. Empress Wen, my sister, has just returned from the western regions, looking rather gaunt. Stay in the palace a few more days. The Emperor, the Empress speaks wisely. I have missed you terribly. 3 people sharing the bridal chamber seems rather inappropriate. Wouldn't the wedding bed be a bit cramped? Fortunately, the newly acclaimed war god Luo Zhan arrived at the palace just in time. True to his roots as the adopted son of the general's household I raised, he now moved with the cunning of a wolf. A single glance from me, and he understood everything. Your Majesty, Empress, this servant has urgent matters to discuss with the head of the Wei family. It concerns the western frontier and cannot wait. In the end, Luo Zhan successfully escorted me out of the palace. Just as we boarded the carriage, Luo Zhan suddenly seized my wrist. Sister, you mustn't enter the palace casually in the future. You know the Emperor's disposition. I wrenched my wrist free and glared at him. I know. Luo Zhan pressed his lips together, his hawk-like eyes fixed on me. Sister, Xiaozhua is 18 now. At his age, he's bound to have many thoughts. You must be wary. Luo Zhan's nagging gave me a headache. The carriage finally reached the gates of the Wei residence. Xiao's deep, ominous voice echoed, young General Luo. Leave the mistress to me. You may return. Just as I stepped down, Luo Zhan swept me into his arms. Xiaozhua lunged forward to take me. Xiaozhua! Luo Zhan snapped. Young General Luo. Leave the family head to me. Luo Zhan whistled dismissively. I'll escort sister into the mansion. It's the same thing. I felt utterly drained. It felt like returning to a past life, where the men around me had spent decades vying for my attention and seething with jealousy. What can I say? It's all my fault for being too beautiful and kind-hearted. The end.